Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Abby Blum. I'm a freshman sports management major and the VP of Communication for the Business of Sports Club.
My name is Kennedy Lazenby. I'm a sophomore sports management student and the VP of Marketing for the Business of Sports Club.
So welcome to the inaugural Sports Management Program's Sustainable Development Goals competition. Tonight's competition showcases cause activation and entrepreneurial plans that leverage the influential brands from a professional sport league, franchise, or nonprofit organization in bettering elements of society through corporate social responsibility. For protection purposes, brand names of associated leagues and franchises will remain anonymous to avoid any inferred alignment with suggested proposals. However, each proposal is an intended contributor to the Sustainable Development Agenda, which is a 15-year universal call to action to end poverty and protect the planet and prospects of everyone everywhere. It was enacted by the United Nations member states in 2015, and the plan encompasses 17 goals that are bracketed into 3 subcategories that are as followed: social inclusion, economic growth, and environmental protection, which all help to accelerate solutions to global challenges.
In addition, the SDG projects are also a feeder to the School of Management Prime Competition. The Prime Competition provides School of Management students with an opportunity to create a project and to compete at a professional level, to demonstrate how organizations contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. Launched at the 2007 UN Global Compact Leaders Summit in Geneva, the Principles for Responsible Management Education is the largest organized relationship between the United Nations and business schools worldwide. As such, teams of students from our very own Business and Sports course proposed innovative solutions for a better world from a business perspective. We look forward to witnessing the next evolution of innovation through the minds of the next wave of change agents. Now, before we get into our 3 competing finalist teams, we want to welcome the Sustainable Development Goals Competition founder and innovator, as well as our program director for sports management here at California Lutheran University, Dr. Mark Orlando.
How's everybody doing tonight? We're doing good? Thank you so much for coming out for this inaugural event. This means a lot to us and our fellow students and our program. So I want to do a couple of quick shout outs and thank yous. First, I want to thank all my students in part of our Business of Sports course who work diligently week over week in creating these cause activation plans that we are going to present tonight. So thank you for that. Round of applause, okay, it's all right. Number 2, we are very fortunate to have 3 amazing judges here with us tonight, each that work in this industry and are incredible leaders within their own right. First, we have Artis Twyman, VP of Communication of the Los Angeles Rams. Round of applause, please. Karina Harold, VP of Major Events for the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment Commission. And last, and certainly not least, Jeff Mueller, VP of Communications for the Los Angeles Kings. And alumni. I thank you so much because you guys being involved with our program makes the experiential learning process unmatched. So thank you again for your involvement. And last and certainly not least, it's to each and every one of you who came here tonight. Administrators, faculty, staff, fellow residents of Thousand Oaks. You guys coming out here and supporting our program is what has made it grow exponentially over the last several months. And we're going to continue to push the threshold in making this program one of the top programs at California Lutheran University. So thank you again for coming out and enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Okay, I'm here to introduce our first finalists, Ryan Douglas and Monty Palacios. They will be presenting a sustainable stadium model.
Gonna test this real quick. Testing.
Hello.
Okay, All right, thank you all for coming out here tonight. We really appreciate it. First Sustainable Development Goals Project. I'm Ryan Douglas.
I'm Monty Palacios.
And we're going to be talking about a green stadium today and kind of combating pollution. But before we get into that, we're going to kind of talk about what sparked that for us. So a lot of us are members of the Business and Sports Club here at Cal Lutheran. We've had the privilege to go to a couple stadiums so far this year. And in those trips, as you kind of have a watchful eye throughout the stadium, you notice one common problem, and that's trash everywhere, whether it's in the parking lot, of tailgates, every single row going all the way down to the field, there's a ton of trash. One perfect example that Monty and I like are these little nifty helmets you get when you go to a baseball game. And what sparked this interest too is you notice that when you're walking around, you're watching these games, it starts off, you got your chips in there, it's all fine and dandy, and then maybe the LA baseball team hits a home run, or they fall out of the playoffs again, and it just goes on the ground, and it's left there. And it's like that the whole time. And so one problem we noticed is when we left, they hand those out with all your, your nachos, any kind of food you get. And most people don't take them, minus, a couple kids here and there. Most people don't take them. And on top of that, there's a lot of wrong sorting. A lot of fans will come in and just kind of throw it in the nearest bin that they see. And that doesn't even include all the cons that come with building a stadium and getting a large amount of people into an event, at the event, and leaving. So when we took a deeper dive into this problem, we found some pretty staggering statistics about pollution and waste at stadiums. 40 tons of food waste on average are left on an average Super Bowl. In addition to 39 million pounds of trash are produced throughout U.S. sporting venues per year. When you add that on to things like idling cars, if you've been to any sporting event in Los Angeles particularly, there's a lot of slow egress and ingress. You have a long amount of idling cars, charcoal grills, and old generators that are producing up to 20 times the amount of air pollution required for a moderate air quality level. In addition to that, stadiums have just kind of become increasingly obsolete in the sense that we see all these stadiums year after year after year, a new stadium. For example, the NFL recently has spent $10.3 billion on new stadiums, including SoFi, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the new Bills proposed stadium in Buffalo, as well as that new kind of multi-use district stadium in Tennessee for the Titans. Additionally, another $6.7 billion on proposed stadiums of late, and not including in the NFL, with teams in Tampa Bay baseball, LA basketball teams, Arizona hockey teams, and soccer teams based out of Miami. Additionally, the typical, what was once seen as a 30-year kind of window for stadiums is now under 20 before a stadium is either completely destroyed and they move on, or just a major renovation or upgrade. And actually, funny enough, today, the Cowboys announced $295 million are going to upgrade for their stadium for the 2026 World Cup, in which they're hosting the final. But they also become quickly obsolete and produce the pollution due to tearing down stadiums, new construction, renovating stadiums, and that increases carbon emissions. In fact, the build environment accounts for 40% of carbon emissions, and most of that, about 23% of the world's emissions, come from just concrete, steel, and aluminum. So in choosing why Chicago, we found that Chicago was ranked actually as the 16th most polluted city in terms of air quality and a lot of other factors, but on average, it all averaged out to 16th most polluted. In terms of trash, it was named the 19th least clean city in America, and they're also having renovation issues with their current Soldier Field. It's a densely populated location, and it has some of the smallest seating capacities of a NFL stadium. So in looking about that, we figured a new stadium not only brings what we will get into shortly, but potentials for Super Bowl bids, hosting NCAA, March Madness, and kind of all those other maximizing revenue events. In targeting Chicago specifically, we found that consumers under the age of 34, 75% of them, more than 75% of them said that they would be more willing to spend their money on teams that had sustainability in mind and practice sustainable efforts. Looking at that, Chicago is the third largest US population, and it's honestly fairly young. 35% of people in Chicago are between the ages of 20 and 39, and over 55% are under the age of 40, which that aligns well with the NFL's average demographic of fan, where a third of NFL fans are between the ages of 18 and 34, which is within 2% of Chicago. In between Chicago and the average NFL demographic, they're pretty even amongst the divide between male and female, and they're within 10% between the demographics among white, African American, and Latinx. Furthermore, in terms of marketing and kind of how we would be marketing this idea, again, 23 to 38%, or the ages of 23 to 38, 86% of them have social media, in addition to 93% of people in those same age group have a smartphone or own a smartphone. Half of all Instagram users are between the ages of 25 and 34, and 25 to 34-year-olds account for roughly 40% of Twitter users. So we kind of mixing that with Chicago's younger population and the younger age of the average NFL fan, as well as the 7 million followers that Chicago has on their social media accounts. So with that in mind, we reached out to sustainability goal number 12, which is responsible consumption and production of natural resources. Specifically goals 12.2, which is by 2030 achieving the sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. That will go in with some partnerships that we have with sustainable builders, as well as some companies that will help us better use our materials in collaboration with other pro teams. Goal 12.2, which is by 2030, substantially reducing waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. Again, that will kind of go into another partnership we go into with separation in the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Goal 12.6, encouraging companies, especially large and transnational companies, to adopt sustainable practices. A big part of this project will be kind of being that innovative franchise that the Bears are known for, and being an industry leader in sustainability. 12.8, by 2030, ensure that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature. A big part of that, too, is just getting that knowledge out there. We'll get into it in some slides in a bit, but is making sure that your sustainability goals and measures are not behind the scenes, that they're in the faces of your fans, and you can't really ignore them. Lastly, goal 2.1 deals with ending hunger, in which by 2030 end hunger and ensure all people, particularly those of color, have access to food year-round. That will be a big partner of ours with the Greater Chicago Food Depository, and making sure that all of our unused food does not go to waste. So if you haven't been able to tell by now, kind of undertaking a new stadium is a pretty big task, and we'll definitely need some help through various partnerships. One of our partnerships would include partnering with the NFL and their G4 program of funding to add a measure that rewards teams that introduce sustainability measures. This would follow the LEED template, which is under the U.S. Green Building Council, and they have levels of just certified, gold or silver, gold, and platinum, which is only achieved by one stadium in America, that being Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And we would align the certain level you have with LEED, whether it be silver, just certified, or platinum, with kind of the amount of room for additional funding that you can get off of that. Additionally, we would have, like I mentioned, LEED, which is a green building rating system, using Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta as a model. They also partner LEED with US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, actually, and 32 other professional stadiums around the US. Their kind of whole idea or goal is to save money, improve efficiency, lower carbon emissions, and create just healthier places. And then we also have our partnership with NBBJ. We found this partner because they have done, since 2003, some great sustainability-led stadiums, particularly with the Lincoln Financial Field of the Philadelphia Eagles. That was seen as kind of a breakthrough in sustainability when it was made in 2003. They did a lot of things which we will be implementing, such as putting solar panels kind of on the front of the stadium on VIP entries, so it's in front of your kind of your biggest investors, if you will, rather than kind of off the property or on top of the stadium. They also have a look at the future. They're building right now the Guangzhou Olympic Center, which uses 66% less steel than any stadium of relevant capacity or size, as well as the Seoul Olympic Center, which is a green multi-use stadium, which we will kind of model off when we get into our multi-use district and how to make that not just more buildings and more carbon emissions getting put out there. We'll also be partnering with the Green Sports Alliance, which is an organization committed to SDG goals and kind of being a member of that, which the Chicago football team already are. We will continue that partnership with them. It expands you to the opportunity to talk with teams that are also in the organization, kind of set green standards and discuss sustainability measures that each of you are taking, and kind of piggyback off of some good ideas of other teams, help them give advice of some of your own ideas as well. This is in addition to other team organizations like Climate Impact Partners, which they help finance from start to finish your project through their carbon credits throughout the life of the project. And so far, they've financed over 100 million tons of carbon emission reductions. Getting into kind of the waste that we talked about, another one of our, and looking at the goal 2.1 of solving kind of hunger, is the Greater Chicago Food Depository. About 1 in 5 households in Chicago are food insecure. The Greater Chicago Food Depository has over 700 pantries, soup kitchens, programs, et cetera, and they've distributed over 77 million meals to those in need in the Greater Chicago area. As part of this partnership, all the unused food that's either not being used in concessions, or kind of the biggest creator of that is suites and kind of VIP rooms like that have kind of buffet style food. A lot of that doesn't get touched. They come in, they take all that food, and they haul it away to their pantries around Chicago. It also goes into the program of feeding the staff that you have on hand. And that will go in addition to partnering with Chicago Waste and Recycling to kind of do more trash separation. They would take it to a room within the new stadium, make sure that everything's sorted so you're not getting your whole or a lot of your recycling dump has to be thrown away because it's just not that organized, as we talked about in the first beginning segment of the presentation. That goal of that is to divert materials from the waste systems and streams of Chicago, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and minimize landfilling. There's also room for some more partners. You can partner with a company like Divvy, which is powered by Lyft, to get electric scooters to get around the new stadium and multi-use district. You can partner with the train metro, in which we would look to initiate deals where Chicago residents can get cheaper train tickets on game days, as well as NRG Solar, which has done a lot of stadiums like the football team in Houston, as well as Lincoln Financial Field, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And that kind of goes, their whole thing is putting it in your face, like I said, on the side of the stadiums, not on top of the stadiums. Then lastly is partnering with schools. A lot of this, kind of something we want to do is help the younger students of Chicago. A lot of studies have shown that parents in Chicago are most worried about lack of after-school availability of programs, in addition to gun violence. So we're hoping by partnering with the Chicago Public School District, which can consist of 423 district-run schools, that we can produce some pretty unique experiences of students being able to come to our urban garden after class and being able to kind of see full cycle the food that we grow, then are able to use in our stadium, in addition to some kind of more science-based projects and looking at stadium tours and how kind of the whole stadium works in terms of sustainability, which we will get to as well. And then lastly, to kind of further offset our carbon emissions is partnering with the Nature Conservancy, and they help offset carbon emissions. They've reduced or stored 3 gigatons of carbon emissions yearly, 125 million acres of land protection, and they've planted over 100,000 trees.
All right, so we're going to be talking about some of the direct effects. We're talking about land, air pollution, and water. So for water preservation, we're going to have urinals inside of our stadium that are going to be waterless. So this will save on average, about 40,000 gallons of water yearly. Energy preservation, obviously we want to have solar panels, kind of in your face style as well. That will produce a lot of power and electricity and heat. You know, knowing anything about Chicago can get very cold in the wintertime, and that's going to be a key source for us for sure. Next, we're going to be speaking on low pollution. This will include a lot of biodegradable utensils in our concession stands, quality air monitors in our tailgating zones, and a You Pay, You Play program initiative that we are going to be conducting as well. Our fourth effect is going to be the financial benefit. Financial benefit in the sense of our building materials. Our building materials are going to be very eco-friendly and a lot more efficient than the normal traditional concrete or steel. And this can reduce a lot of renovation issues and renovation costs in the future. Our fifth effect will be the reduced health risks for the community. And we are going to be moving the Chicago football team from downtown Chicago to Arlington Heights. So it's a suburb of Chicago, about 45 minutes bus ride from Chicago, northwest of Chicago. So that's going to be definitely one of our key effects as well. So this is going to be our campus, 326-acre campus here, pretty large lot in the center of Arlington Heights. Every key zone that we're going to be talking about today has their own effect on pollution and climate change. So we're going to be going step by step on each of these zones now. So starting with our green stadium. So our blueprint, the new standard. Obviously, like Ryan said, we want our standard of this new green stadium to be the blueprint for not only teams in the NFL, not only teams in the country, but teams around the world, and definitely not only in football. So our first building material here is going to be wood in the form of mass timber. And this is going to cut our carbon footprint by 26 to 44%. And what mass timber is a huge slabs of wood that are going to make our panels and beams of our stadium. So they're going to be the foundation of our stadium. It is going to be definitely a very modern aesthetic look. As you can see here, this is an example of a NFL stadium that we kind of are modeling after. Solar panels regarding heat and electricity, and it is definitely going to be a multi-purpose stadium as well. We have a multitude of artists in the greater Chicago area, whether it's rap, R&B, EDM, things like that. So we definitely want to open that up as well and not only be a one-dimensional stadium. And seating capacity is going to be a key issue for us that we want to fix from their normal stadium now to our new green stadium. So we're going to provide around 70,000 seats, seating capacity on average. And the stadium now has around 61,500. So we are definitely going to get a few more thousand. So inside the stadium for concessions, we are going to be using biodegradable utensils, as you can tell here. We have some plates, knives, forks, spoons, and cups. So what biodegradable utensils are, polylactic acid materials, such as cornstarch and potato starch. And they're designed to break down into more harmless substances. So a lot better than plastic. They, believe it or not, are still plastic, but they are bioplastics. So it's a different form of plastic. We are going to give, obviously, vegan and vegetarian options as well. Not a lot of stadiums do that, but going green, we definitely want to give that option to our patrons. And obviously, like Ryan said, we want to donate, unconsumed food as well. So train access. Transportation is going to be huge. Living here in LA, different culture, different lifestyle. We don't use public transportation as much. Everything's kind of far. But Chicago is a lot different. They use a lot more buses, trains, things like that. So as you can tell on our map here, kind of on our northwest entrance, we're going to have a train access station there. So that's going to be leading into our mixed-use district and all the rest of our campus. So Chicago's norm. We are, like I said, southwest entrance. We're going to have designated pickup and drop-off zones in the city of Chicago. Now, this is going to be before game time, obviously. Visit the Chicago football team's website, and you can see where these key pickup and drop-off areas are. So any fans, that want to come to a game, check our website out, and they can get access to that. We definitely want to push our fans to go more public transportation, and some of the effects of that are less carbon dioxide gas emissions. So as you can see here, carbon dioxide gas emissions per passenger mile. For trains, it's 177 grams, buses 299, and individual cars 371. So it's about 194 gram difference. And it was only a 46-minute train ride from downtown Chicago to Arlington Heights, and about an hour and 10-minute bus ride from there as well. So here are some of the key checkpoints we have now established. These are already pre-designated areas pre-existing areas rather, where some of our patrons can, catch a bus, catch a train, metro, things like that, to go obviously to our stadium. So this is an example of a map that, we're going to be introducing. Venue parking. So kind of towards the southwest corner of our huge campus, we're going to have parking there, and it's going to be very limited parking as well. We are pushing a lot more for public transportation, so that's going to be a key element for us. So limited parking, individual vehicle parking, only around 10,000 parking spots on average. And this is mainly for our season ticket holders, preferred for our season ticket holders. It is going to have overhead shade and 50 electric vehicle charging stations, which will be most in the NFL. Solar panels as well, providing additional power to the stadium for heat and electricity. Our next section of our campus is going to be the community green space. So it's kind of in the middle of our campus here. As you can tell, we have, bountiful amounts of trees, ponds, a lot of greenery, things like that. So that's going to be where a lot of our leisure zones are going to be, community building zones, and education zones. So in the middle of our campus. So some of our scenery here. This is an example of what these zones are going to be looking like here. You can experience, again, ponds, grass, tree areas, many leisure zones. This is going to be a great zone for community building as well, not only for our team, but for the residents of Arlington Heights. And we believe that this will be, very key education-wise. There's going to be a lot of bike lanes, walkways, things like that. So tailgating zones. By a show of hands, how many people love tailgating here? Got a few, there you go, got a few people. So this is going to be our tailgating zones here, and believe it or not, we're going to be, a little bit more strict about tailgating, certain tailgating measures for sure. So a lot of Chicago fans love tailgating, and this is going to be, a key element for us. Go ahead. So outside the stadium, we're going to be having mobile air quality monitors. So about 6 hours prior to kickoff and about 2 hours prior to kickoff, we'll switch them out. And what air quality monitors are, they assess the air quality in the area for any gases or anything that can pretty much harm human health and the environment. We're also going to be having pellet grills. So different from traditional charcoal and propane gas grills, these grills obviously run on renewable wood pellets, and they don't have any additives. So no chemicals will be used and are burning off in the atmosphere. So available 3-stream cube recycling stations, so that's recycling, compost, and regular trash, will be distributed all throughout our campus as well, not only in our tailgate zones, but inside the stadium and outside as well. So our mixed use district is probably one of my favorite districts here. This is going to have a multitude of purposes for the local and visiting fans. So this mixed use district, it's obviously going to create a lot of local economy, local jobs, and this is going to 5 key ideas that we have for this zone. The first is going to be the team shops. This is going to be obviously a lot of merchandise, for the team, things like that. So any visiting fans or fans that come back can visit these team shops and purchase any team items. Retail stores with partnering corporations as well, so we want them to obviously come bring their business here. Offices, whether it's with the Chicago football team, offices or outside corporations as well, we think that there's going to be a lot of foot traffic here. We anticipate a lot of foot traffic, and we believe these offices will be very key for a lot of local businesses. Related restaurants are definitely going to be key as well. A lot of we want the Chicago experience for our fans, whether they're new or returning fans. So this is going to be a lot of Chicago-based foods, deep dish pizza, a lot of cuisines that we think would help bring in new people, and hotel accommodations for any visiting fans and opposing teams. So we are approved by the Arlington Heights residents. Local residents already kind of approved these plans. This campus is already bought as well. So we are pretty much just waiting on the approval to start building there and approval to move the Chicago football team from downtown Chicago to our Arlington Heights campus. And we anticipate about 48,000 new labor jobs and $3.9 billion in labor income. And 74% of our Arlington Heights residents do own homes. So we definitely anticipate the value of homes increasing tenfold.
Tried to save battery on that. They told us they would die. As I previously mentioned, a big part of this is education. One of our SDG goals has to do with kind of serving as a role model, as a model for sustainability for green stadiums, hoping that the rest of the NFL in really just sporting venues as a whole can follow suit. So part of that, and partnering up with the Cook County Chicago School District, will kind of hope that we can give that younger generation, kind of spark that desire in them to work with sustainability and kind of create more ideas towards sustainability through after-school programs where we go through the stadium, introduce them to some of the measures that we do, as well as pollution education courses. And as I previously mentioned, our urban garden, a big part of that is especially for those younger, first to fourth graders, just a little hands-on learning, showing them what we do in-house that influences our stadium and getting that food kind of full circle to the fans.
So we're going to have a You Pay, You Play program. And so we're going to have sanitation stations all throughout our stadium, where after home games, 50 to 100 fans can visit these sanitation sections and get gloves, masks, and trash bags. So they would be assigned a section throughout the stadium to pretty much help clean up and teach them about pollution and waste. And obviously they have to sign a liability form, 18 years old and plus, 18 plus and older. And they will receive rewards of autographs, game tickets for next home games, or exclusive team merchandise while doing so. And this will not only be in our stadium, but it can also be in our pond areas and the surrounding exterior as well.
So looking back at our SDG goals that we mentioned at the beginning, 12.2, achieving sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. A lot of that goes with our partnership with NBBJ. They're kind of a leader in sustainability in terms of construction, architecture, as we mentioned with Lincoln Financial Field and some of the projects they're doing offshores currently. So that's a big partnership for us to help reach goal 12.2. Goal 12.5, by 2030, substantially reducing waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. A lot of that is in work with our partnership with Chicago Waste and Recycling, kind of getting things sorted properly. There's a lot of things that even as everyday individuals, we mess up recycling, things that aren't recyclable, and a lot of times that will actually be thrown out down at wherever they sort your waste, depending on where you live. Goal 12.6, encouraging companies, especially large and transnational companies, to adopt sustainable practices. This is our pretty, like our biggest goal for us. It's really serving as a template and a model to all NFL teams through that partnership with the NFL to hopefully get additional funding with the whatever level of LEED certification you can reach, and kind of serve as the go-to model for sustainability, while also modeling our stadium off of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, which is the only platinum LEED certified stadium in the country, as well as Forest Green Rovers, who the UN has distinguished as the greenest team and stadium in the world. And they that's a little harder to find because they're in the middle of their construction, but their stadium uses, I believe, at least 96% of their stadium is wood. 12.8 by 2030, ensuring that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature. That goes with, like I said, having things such as solar panels on the front of the stadium, having signage at every kind of trash sorting or at your concessions that explains, extra food waste is taken by Greater Chicago Food Depository, having that in suites that's explaining that where that food is taken. A lot of it is just making sure that fans know. That also will go on social media. Like I mentioned, I believe it's 7 million at least on Chicago football team's social media, getting that out there. That's a really big piece, and that's critical for this whole SDG goals. Even when we were introduced to it, there's a lot of problems out there that people aren't aware of. So if we can get that out there, and obviously when you build a stadium, you have a solid chunk of time to kind of get that information out there and then include it in the new stadium. And that will kind of be worked in with all of our partners that we've mentioned. And then lastly, goal 2.1 by 2030, end hunger and ensure all people, particularly those of color, have access to food year round. As I mentioned, 1 in 5 households in Chicago are food insecure. We're hoping that through Chicago football team home games, as well as any other maximizing revenue events that you hold at that stadium, that we can take that food that doesn't go used and kind of supply them with roughly a year-round supply of food. And with that, I believe we're open to any questions, or I know there's a lot of information thrown at you, so happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'll open up questions. I'll open up questions now to the judges if they have any.
Waterless urinals, do we really think that's feasible?
In terms of getting fans on board, or just like
Just the practicality of having a waterless urinal.
Do you want to touch on it? I can touch on it too. I think that a lot of it, in terms of when we research just like more basic sustainability measures that weren't as cost effective, whereas if you're even partnering with LEED is like 64 for a stadium of about $73,000. So we saw that waterless urinals were one way to go. In addition, you can do that with, as far as toilets, I don't know what the technical phrase or word is, but yes, sorry, say that again.
Low flow.
Low flow toilet, where they have kind of the two options. So that was kind of something that we just thought was an easy thing to implement, that it's not something that would get a lot of pushback by fans in terms of, if you build a stadium in general, you might get a lot of pushback just because anytime you build a stadium, everyone's like, well, is my money being included this? I don't want to pay higher taxes and stuff. So we thought that was something that was just easy to get on board and wouldn't have too much pushback. Do you want to add anything to that, or?
The sanitation station, was that your idea? Was that something you've seen in other venues?
Sure. So, believe it or not, I kind of got the idea and the inspiration from the World Cup. A lot of Japanese fans just have a different lifestyle from us, and they're very clean, and they stick back after the games, and they pretty much clean up their sections and all the surrounding sections. So that's kind of where I got the idea of maybe having kind of an initiative where certain fans learn a little bit about waste inside the stadium and the surrounding exterior, and they might receive some rewards or some form of incentive as well. So that was just an idea. I guess it was a new idea, yeah.
Michigan too, right? The Michigan study?
Oh yeah, Michigan students, I believe, as well do the same.
They implemented that at a Michigan home football game, and that was kind of that with the Japanese fans that have been kind of all over social media was where we got the idea for that.
You guys just built one of these stadiums, didn't you, artists? You guys just built one of these stadiums, right?
We
And
did.
One of the things that we have to put into consideration, and I'll use the microphone, is human behavior. And you can build the most beautiful eighth wonder of the world, which we have in Inglewood, but if fans don't change their behavior, all the sustainable measures that are put into place really go to waste. You made a great point right here, right, on the mess that we now have to clean up. That if fans don't change behavior, it doesn't matter what kind of receptacles you have. And in working with the Green Sports Alliance and the NFL Green Team at SoFi Stadium, they have to bring in teams to sort. And it's very expensive. And it's very expensive to compost. And it's very expensive to do the things that you should do, right, socially. But when it comes down to money, it's very difficult to do. And you guys have, at SoFi Stadium, they have a whole sustainability department. But if you don't change fan behavior, it doesn't matter. And I think you just mentioned waterless urinals. You don't have to change fan behavior. They're going to pee, right? Like, and so changing the structure and using wood. And I love the idea of having tailgate sections that don't use cars, right? But if fans are not used to riding a train for 45 minutes to get to a stadium, they won't. And if fans are not used to not having their cars accessible, they'll park in neighborhoods. Ask Inglewood. And it creates even more pollution and traffic. And so you have to think through the human behavior part of this and the education part. And I thought you were going to go there and talk about how we were going to entice fans with your program and things like that. But it's so critical that when you build a building like this, and you have to build it, that you think about how you can get the community to buy in. And I think that's the next part of really thinking through how this becomes successful.
You know, I agree, and I think a lot of that too, at least originally what we were thinking, because we kind of ignored the whole, or didn't ignore it, we acknowledged it, but didn't want to touch too much on at least, and I know this wasn't your comment exactly, but financing the stadium, because that's a whole different rabbit hole that we could kind of get into. But part of the getting fans to kind of get their behaviors in line of what we hope would flow best with the stadium, we were kind of originally thinking that'd be part of the marketing idea, that you kind of slowly introduce, or at least kind of feed to them to see their initial reaction when you propose the plan initially. But I definitely appreciate that point for further edits to our project.
It was in there.
Yeah.
You just have to link it, right? Like loyalty points, like creating incentives for fans to change behavior. Why would they take the metro? Free tickets. You were doing it, right? Because this is the stuff we think about every day. But make it obvious, right? Show us exactly, okay, this is like on your last slide with your summary. You were telling me how you were doing it, but I'd like to see how you solved all those problems. So in summary, we hit 12.3 by doing this, this, and this.
Yeah.
That would have helped me say, oh, okay, they got it, they linked it. So it's all there, it's just make it super obvious.
Yeah, no, thank you. We appreciate the feedback.
Any other questions? All right, round of applause. Thank you.
Huh? Yeah.
I just hope if I'm driving there in December, they got a parking spot for me. I ain't taking the train.
Just a reminder, there are drinks and cookies in the back if you're hungry.
Great reminder, Abby, thank you.
That's what my doctor's going to tell me.
No, we're good. Thank you.
I'm in a lot of pain and it sucks. This is just the icing on the cake of everything that I've gone through recently. So yeah, I will. Thank you.
On? And now it's off?
Okay, we will now be moving into our second presentation. So if you guys want to quickly grab some stuff and sit back down.
Kids got their report cards today, so.
Your kids?
Yeah.
Oh,
My
yeah?
husband just sent me pictures of them.
How'd they do?
They did. My daughter's a second grade
Okay,
star.
so now
She's
please
fine, but my
welcome
son's
our
fourth
second
grade, so it's like, we
finalists,
need to-
Paris Reggio and Sean Blandino,
You know,
as
like,
they
we're either gonna
present
go
their
right or left.
multi-purpose youth facility.
Or down the middle, but not left, please.
I don't know if, is it working? Okay. This is our Sustainable Development Goals project. Our cause activation plan is youth sport participation in the Los Angeles community, proposed by myself, Paris Riggio, and my partner.
Sean Blandino. And so to really just start to get into it, to just cast a narrative, imagine you're back, say 5, 6 years old, and all you want to do is participate in any extracurricular activity that you can. And so a lot of our peers were able to do that. However, there are a vast majority of LA County who honestly aren't. And so whether that be from financial strain or from just not having the same availability as others, this is where we believe that this facility can actually fit just right into. And so just to go over some statistics of Los Angeles County, it consists of 9.8 million people, with 22% of them being under the age of 18, falling into this child or young adult category, with 32.3% of all households having children, and an additional 32% being single parent households, which is what we're going to try to target as well. And in terms of economics, for youth sports participation rates, 68% of family households who earn under or at $35,000 actually have their children participate in sports. And that number actually dwindles down to 27.5% with families who earn $25,000 or less. And a common theme with this entire project is that low-income family households believe that there is a present lack of opportunity for their children and for the progression of not only athletics, but also academics. And so to continue a little more statistics, in terms of health and fitness standards in Los Angeles County, 23.2% of students test actually at risk for their aerobic capacity, found in grades 5, 7, and 9, and that's under California fitness standards. And only 21% of students actually meet fitness standards within the 5th grade of Los Angeles County. And so this number is actually very prominent, and this leads to a 45.6% of students being classified as either overweight or obese. And so in terms of education, which are also part of our project, 1/3 of all students did not actually meet English language arts and literacy standards within the grades of 3 through 11. And this is through California literacy testing and standardized testing. And 43% have missed standardized placement for mathematics, which is also a big error area for our county.
Sean, can I ask one question? Is that pre or post-pandemic?
This is, I believe, pre.
Okay, thank you.
And so for the development and the driving forces for this issue, again, it's the financial strain within Los Angeles County communities and family members. And so this leads to multiple different issues, including diminished health concerns, exposure to traumatic experiences, lack of resources, poor housing, food insecurity, decreased readiness to learn, and high increase in crime as well as violence. And it's been proven that through sports, youth can actually gain moral character, responsibility, problem-solving skills, and most importantly, actual academic commitment to learn. And so program initiatives do exist in Los Angeles County and have been proven to be effective. However, we believe through this cause activation plan that they actually don't really serve the communities as well as they can, because most of them are not only individualistic based on their own present sport, they also don't actually cover most of the academic curriculum that we are aiming to strive for.
So our actions needed, our cause activation plan is really tailored to the LA84 Foundation, designed to impact the youth through social and academic skills. Financials are a big part of this, and that's why we want to go over what the financials are going to look like. So it's going to be multi-layered state and federal grants from the Office of Government of Relations, Office of Justice Programs, charitable giving, which is established foundations, corporations, as well as individual. Corporate sponsorships, which are one-time donations, and then services and fees from tailored hosted events. We really are going to focus on working with the LA84 Foundation and Kaboom and their proven abilities to help financial grassroots funding. So with that being said, our sustainable development goals, we have chosen 2 of them, and these 2 are really the foundation of how our project was created. We decided to do 4, which is quality education, and 9, which is industry innovation infrastructure. For quality education, we're really focusing on goal 4.4, which is by 2030 to substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. Now this goal fits in our plan because we're going to be having tutoring at we're proposing a facility where we're going to be having after-school tutoring and a place for the students to go and learn. For 9.1, we want to develop quality, reliable, and sustainable resilient infrastructure, regional and trans-border infrastructure, to support economic development and human well-being with a focus on affordable and equitable access to all. This really fits into our cause activation plan because we are building a facility that is going to be available to everyone in the community. That's going to be affordable for everyone to use. The United Nations emphasizes the importance of sports as an enabler of sustainable development and peace in its promotion of tolerance and respect.
So phase 1 will cover both the plan and the partnership for our campaign. And so the plan, we broke it up into 3 different steps. Step 1 is incorporating established organizations to actually help develop inner city youth sports facility. Step 2 is target at-risk community to create a pilot facility in which we hope that it'll grow through the grassroots programs. And step 3 would be establishing after-school programs at said facility to also reinforce the connection between education and its link towards athletic participation and performance.
So our partnerships are extremely important in our cause activation. So we are partnering with the LA84 Foundation and Kaboom. So starting off with the LA84 Foundation, since its inception after the 1984 Olympics that were hosted in Los Angeles, LA84 Foundation has continually supported youth development and sport participation in the Los Angeles County. They're funded and partnered with a variety of nonprofit organizations. One thing to know about the LA84 Foundation is they are a grant-making foundation, and they have made grants as little as $5,000 to as much as $500,000. So LA84 will act as our financial facilitator throughout our cause activation plan. One thing that the LA84 Foundation does as well is they do coaches programs where they train coaches, and they've trained over 198,000 coaches to be able to go to the youth and teach the youth through sport.
So just LA84, the foundation's impact, it has had a very large impact for the community and Los Angeles County as a whole since its inception in 1984 after the Summer Olympics, including over 3.9 million youth have been served since inception, with that average around 50,000 per year, and with a percentage of 43.8 for female participants. So far, they have actually created over 3,000 grants to the number of 3,065, with amounting to over $230 million invested in sports programs. And as Paris said before, 198,000 coaches have been trained, and we'll utilize this same exact training profile for this facility.
So Kaboom is our next partnership, and they're really going to be the driving force of really making all of this happen for us. So the focus is to build play spaces with communities to further long-term progress towards community-driven goals. Kaboom operates in a successful 4-step model, which we will get into, but this 4-step model really shows how they build everything, just from the idea to the completion to maintaining everything. They have a 25-and-5 initiative to end play space inequity, which is a 5-year, $250 million deal to end play space inequity across the United States.
And a little stats to back that up. So Kaboom's impact has also had a very large sum over its course of since its inception, with over 11 million children being helped since its creation, partnered with over 275 organizations, and over 17,000 play spaces have been built since its creation. And then some large partners that you actually might recognize would include CarMax, the Colorado Health Foundation, Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, the William Penn Foundation, Discover, General Motors, Kaiser Permanente, Morgan Stanley, and United Healthcare. And all these have similar mission statements to what we're really aiming towards in order to impact youth and through sports and through academics.
So the Kaboom model, I mentioned this earlier, they follow a 4-step model. So step 1 is activation, step 2 is design and plan, step 3 is build, and step 4 is going to be program and maintenance.
So step 1, activation. This outlines the recruiting of not only community leaders, but also children and family members of that community in order to build relations for the surrounding neighborhoods, which will actually get the input and utilize this facility to reflect both their wants and their needs. And so this is extremely community specific. So we're going to look at demographics with not only sports participation levels, but also demographics of who actually lives in the area that we're trying to affect. And so this initial facility that we decided that would be located in the suburban pockets of Inglewood, and we feel like this would have the greatest impact on their current situation.
So step 2 is design and plan. So Kaboom gets together with the community for what's called a design day, where they get together with the youth, schools, parents, anyone who wants to be involved, and they all get together and create what their dream facility would look like, cultivating all their ideas and their dreams of what that will look like. And like Sean said, it is driven by community input and statistical demographics, which is sport participation, facility requirements, and public safety, and our field improvement.
The next step is the building phase, and this step is actually a culmination of the first 2 steps of activation and design and plan, and it's the largest of the 4. This is a community-led construction of the facility along with Kaboom community build managers. This allows for community volunteers to not only connect with professional installers, but also funding partner volunteers as well as Kaboom to develop and create these facilities in terms of long-lasting partnership.
The last step is step 4, which is program and maintenance. And in this step is for Kaboom to work with the community to develop programming, events, and to promote community's ongoing sense of belonging. So they really want to work to make sure that the facility is being maintained and there's fundraising to maintain the facility. Kaboom actually has workers and volunteers at each of their facilities that overlook what needs to be done, what needs to be maintained, and they have people through their system. So phase 2 is going to be our target. So as we said, we are going to be targeting Inglewood. Now, why Inglewood? A few different reasons, but with the development of SoFi Stadium, SoFi has been a really big positive. It's brought a lot of money into the city and a lot of people into the city, but it does have a ripple effect, and it has affected the community that lives there. With that being said, rent has been raised over $1,000 to the people who live in the community. And 74% of residents are renters, so not a lot can afford to buy places. And 59% spike in rental agreements. So just with the increased rent and housing, and there's a lot more congestion within the city, it has caused the residents to a little bit suffer. And so with that sense, that's why we've chosen Inglewood.
So Inglewood's demographics, it's really important to actually analyze and look at their demographics to know who and what we are targeting. And so they come in at a population just over 100,000 at 108,000. Over 90% have Black or Latino descent. And the income across Inglewood ranges from just under 60,000, just over 70,000. And after the construction of SoFi Stadium, just to reiterate, the real estate has spiked over 90% in multiple areas. And so we're really going to be focusing on youth sports participation rates in order to actually reflect correctly what this facility will become. And so doing so, the top 5 for youth sport participation rates come in at swimming, basketball, soccer, running, and baseball, with swimming being at the top at 25% and baseball being 5th at 14.6%. And so to examine more with the male youth sports participation as well as the female youth sports participation, male starts at tackle football, then wrestling, flag football, hockey, and baseball, with tackle football being at 96% and baseball being at 80%. And then for female, it's cheer and dance at 92% and softball at 71%.
So the current situation and the impact. So in the city of Inglewood, annual crime is over 3,200, with over 600 being violent and the rest being property damage crimes. Inglewood public school testing is also a lot lower than the state average. Reading and math are at 25% compared to the state average, which is at 45%. Reading is up 30% compared to the state average being 51%. And then we have math at 19% compared to the state average of 39%. So their testing and their numbers are a lot lower than what the state wants them to be at. But participating youth studies have shown that sport enhances cognitivity in children, as well as a link between increased physical activity and academic achievement. So there was a study done in the University of Minnesota where they had over 4,700 middle school students, and they took their physical activity of 2 hours and put it up to 7 hours. And with that increase, their grades actually increased at 9.1%. With that being said, we also mentioned that LA 84 does have a coaches program where they train coaches. So we will be utilizing those coaches at our facility so they can help train the youth through sports to reflect in their academics.
And so looking more at the market we're actually trying to target, and where there's two main ones that we're trying to target, which would be the schools and the school districts, as well as social media, and having social media presence for our facility, as well as to promote it. So for schools, there's 17 total schools with just under 8,000 students in Inglewood itself. And then if you just increase that radius by 5 miles all the way around, that increases to 30 total schools and over 25,000 students which can be affected by our program. And so for marketing with the schools, we would really like to directly market towards the PTA meetings. As with Inglewood, PTA Council has almost 100% of both their faculty and staff actually participating in a strong way. And Inglewood already has the strong foundation of the PTA to where they've already created playgrounds, funding art programs, and also work to actually help promote new knowledge and messages to better the youth of the city of Inglewood.
We're also going to be targeting using social media. I think everyone nowadays has at least one social media account. And Inglewood actually uses a lot of their platforms to promote things within their community. They use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, just to really engage their community. So Facebook actually has the highest percentage when being used for marketing at 90%, and Instagram comes second at 79%. Now, Facebook actually has over 2 billion users, and Instagram has over 1 billion users who are on social media or on those platforms for at least 30 minutes a day. So with that being said, if people are on their phones, on their social media, we can use that to do sponsorships and to get our vision onto their feed.
So now we have to get to the really nitty-gritty part of it and the actual breaking ground of our target locations, which we have 2 of. So the first location, the first option is revamp and renew. This is where we find a location to where we can already have like an established foundation, and all you have to do is build upon it. So the first location that we found is Edward Vincent Jr. Park, which is found at 700 Warren Lane, found in Inglewood. This is only 2 miles east from the 405 freeway to allow for easy accessibility for long travel, as well as only 2 miles north from SoFi Stadium with all that economic infrastructure and backing. And so currently it contains 2 full turf soccer fields that are all already up to date, and 2 dirt baseball and softball diamonds, 8 tennis courts, and 1 Olympic-sized pool. So this option really more focused on the improvement of the facility rather than breaking ground on an entirely new thing. And so improvements would include additional markings on these soccer fields to include a wider variety of sports within the area, including football, lacrosse, etc. Improvements to the baseball and softball facilities to reflect up-to-date capabilities. And finally, the addition of an indoor facility such as a gymnasium to reflect the other sports in the area like basketball, wrestling, dance, and cheerleading, as well as to hold the after-school programming for both athletics and academics. And our second option would be called replace and improve. This is actually breaking ground on an entirely new facility and just getting rid of what was there before. So our suburban pocket that we chose is Centinela Heights South, which actually has 19.7% of surrounding neighborhood households being run by single mothers. So this is honestly a very big number to actually think of, because this number indicates, and it's been proven statistically, that higher crime rates as well as higher violence rates are found within these areas. And we really want to impact these households run by single mothers and single parents in general in order to help their children grow and develop. And so with this, it's found at Rogers Park at 400 Beach Avenue in Inglewood, California, which is also only less than 1 mile east from the 405 freeway to allow for the most accessibility possible. Currently, it contains 2 baseball fields, 1 skate park, 2 tennis courts, and 1 outdoor basketball court. And so the actual construction of this facility would begin by creating 2 multi-purpose fields in place of the 2 current baseball fields there in order to reflect the wide variety of sports participants within the area, as well as an additional 2 baseball and softball turf fields on either end to allow for also the variety of sports within the area. And so Similar to the other option, we wanted to create an indoor facility or gymnasium as well to reflect the wide variety of sports, including basketball, wrestling, futsal, etc., as well as to create the environment, the safe environment for the children to participate in for the academic programming.
So phase 3 is going to be education. So our after-school programs, we're going to be hosting an after-school program Monday through Friday. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's going to be tutoring focusing on math and science, considering that is where the numbers are the lowest within the school district. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to be doing after-school creative arts. There's been a lot of studies that arts help the kids a lot academically. It also helps with stress reduction, social interactions, reducing anxiety, and also an increase in confidence. So we're going to be doing arts twice a week to really get the kids involved, especially if they're not into sports. They also have that creative outlet. So you might be asking, like, how are we going to get people to do this? So we're getting volunteers from the surrounding communities, with schools, colleges. So it's an opportunity for them to have internships or have community service. As well, we would like to get a stipend for them so they do get something in turn for their service to us. So the impact of sport participation on academics. So a study was done by MU Healthcare that shows sport require memorization, repetition, and learning skills that translate into the coursework. The increase of blood flow to the brain through sports and exercise can actually help build more connections between the nerves, which leads to increased concentration, enhanced memory, stimulated creativity, and better problem-solving skills.
And so a little bit with some concluding remarks. So by no means is our cause activation plan against the current status and current nonprofits that are in Los Angeles County. We want to encourage that. We want to encourage those actual programs to be coming to our facility in order to create like a nonstop shop into one single area and one single entity. However, we also believe that the sheer variety of nonprofits within the area actually creates a problem for not only parents but for the children itself, because many of these families actually don't have the opportunity to travel and transport their children to multiple different locations at once. And so for this, we want to create like a one-stop shop for that opportunity. And as a parent, all you want to do is provide for their child and give your child every single opportunity that they can and any opportunity that they might not have had when they were younger. And so with this, we think that we have the opportunity to give them that and give them the trust that we can help develop their child while they're trying to sift through the financial strain and the economic strain that they are currently in and currently reside.
All right, I'll open it up now for more Q&A.
Do you mind going back to your slides on those two areas?
Yeah.
So I was just curious, do you know how many local schools are within walking distance of these two areas?
Not currently, but I know that there are a range of elementary and middle schools within walking distance from there, especially with this one at Sentinel Heights South.
Can you go back to the slide where you talked about what was popular percentage amongst kids?
This
Next one, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I do for a living. And the LA84 Foundation is our community partner, and we use major events to create legacy impact projects. And most of them are centered in Inglewood. You guys did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
This is what we do. This is how we do it. And your methodology was exactly what we do when we're working with the Inglewood School District or the city. And this is happening right now because of exactly why you said. And I know both those parks. I know both those areas. We're pumping money into this community as it needs. And I just kept shaking my head because this is what we do. And I'm really proud of you guys. Great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah?
How do you intend to measure the effectiveness of the program once you put all this money in to see if some of the points that you made in your presentation are actually fulfilled?
I think just sorry.
That's actually a pretty simple process when you really think about it, because Right now, what we're really monitoring would be the fitness and health standards through the fitness testing of California, as well as the academic testing. So that could probably easily be seen through these in a couple years after the development of this facility. And so we can really see the actual impact of providing not only after-school athletic programming, but also academic programming on top of that.
All right, round of applause. Thank you.
Okay, introducing our third and final finalist is Ariel Esparza and Liam Rodriguez Scott with Women's Reproductive Healthcare Campaign.
That legacy impact money, that's exactly what we're doing. Maybe not a community facility, but we're taking, like you guys did Coleman Field, we did the locker room for all these reasons, you know, and I'm big on community centers, and I want to incorporate mental health spaces into these things, but this is, I mean, these are kids, and like, this is what I talk about every day, and that when they can do that, you know, like, that's when you know they got it. Like when they're actually,
testing.
and you want to ask them questions for your own job, you know, like, well, what if we did this? Then you know that they just figured it out. Yeah.
We didn't think of that. UC Colorado Springs.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Well, first and foremost, I would just like to thank everyone for being here today. I would like to thank the judges for their time, and I would please like to turn everyone's attention to my cause activation plan, which I call a community in need of reproductive health care. So one problem that's been holding heavy in my heart and a lot of women's hearts was just recently, on June 24th, 2022, the famous landmark court decision called Roe v. Wade, which ensured abortion rights for women on federal standards, was overturned, and now the right to choose is up to the state. This led to 17 states adopting anti-abortion laws, some of these being no abortion access after 16 weeks of pregnancy, after 15 weeks of pregnancy, and full ban abortion regardless of incidence of rape or incest. Unfortunately, across the nation, 1 in 5 women, which you may know, which may even be in the audience today, have experienced completed or attempted rape in their lifetime. And unfortunately, 1 in 3 of these victims have experienced this occurrence from the ages of 11 and 17, which unfortunately puts us at an age when we ban abortion completely for girls in those developing ages that might not be able to provide and have children. Not only is this a physical attribute, but it's also a mental health attribute as well. It has been seen through multiple studies that denying women abortions have caused higher levels of anxiety, lower life satisfaction, and lower self-esteem. This is also a huge healthcare issue, as it's seen denying women abortions has caused a 21% increase in pregnancy-related deaths. And for women of color, this number is even more devastating, as it increases by 12% for an overall increase of 33% for pregnancy-related deaths for women of color. This inspired me to create a cause activation plan to uplift these women in these communities that might not have the access or the education for reproductive health care. I specifically wanted to target the health and well-being, and target goal 3.7 aims to ensure reproductive health care access for women by 2030. So when I was contemplating how I wanted to put this together, I wanted to focus on a team that might have women just specifically because this might actually affect them or affect their everyday lives. So I wanted to make it a little more niche. So I wanted to pick a community in Arizona which specifically has been impacted by these laws and has introduced anti-abortion laws specifically. One example being that it is state mandated for healthcare providers, when you're being checked up on, to be telling women that they should not have abortions. So therefore, I wanted to pinpoint this community in need because I wanted to work with the U.S. professional women's basketball team in Phoenix specifically Not only because this is a community that's been hit by this problem, but also because the team itself has shown past progress with the abortion healthcare issue. As you could see in these pictures, and these are two very famous Phoenix women players that wore abortion is healthcare when the Roe v. Wade was overturned. So we wanted to specifically pick a team that just fit right with what we just want to do, and that's to educate women through reproductive health care. So when I try to assess what type of nonprofit we could work in to help educate women, we found through a lot of research that Pro-Choice Arizona aims to not only uplift marginalized communities, but also aims to educate women on the reproductive health care issue, and also through programs and research as well. So I wanted to put on a basketball fundraiser with Pro-Choice Arizona and the Phoenix women's team to hopefully do what we want to do, which is educate women on reproductive health care and get that conversation going. So an example of something that Pro-Choice Arizona has put on is the Rural Access Project, which their mission for that specifically was to increase abortion access and reproductive education. So we thought through this we wanted to implement, they had guest testimonies and guest speakers, which through that example we wanted to hopefully get testimonies from people from Pro-Choice Arizona, and so we thought this would be a great fit for our basketball fundraiser, which I will mention more later on. Not only do they aim to help women in general, but especially women in marginalized communities. As I mentioned previously, there's a 33% increase of pregnancy-related deaths, for women of color, and as it's been seen, 23.8 per 1,000 abortions for Black women and 11.7 per 1,000 for Latinx women, which is more than any other group. And so therefore we want to make sure that we're not just uplifting women, but we also want to help and provide access for women of color as well. And for Arizona specifically, 80% of Arizona counties live without a provider or clinic, which is why Pro-Choice Arizona has started the initiative to educate women on the healthcare issue. And this is really important, especially for marginalized communities, seeing that Black and Latinx women combine for 30% of the entire population without health insurance. As far as who we want to take into our event, I wanted to target specific area of women that not only through ticket sales that hopefully could get to our event, but also a group of women that is most impacted by the abortion healthcare issue, and that is women ages of 25 to 34, which is millennial women. They have been seen to have the highest abortion percentages, which is at 29.3%, which is at 19 abortions per 1,000 women. Not only that, but we thought this would be a great fit for our target audience to get to our event, because Arizona women from this age range specifically constituted for 60% of the entire population of Arizona. In addition, we wanted to do a cause activation plan with the U.S. professional women's basketball team in Phoenix, because specifically the NWA fandom is 30% Black fans, 21% Hispanic, which makes them the highest as far as marginalized community fandom. And overall, the purpose of this fundraiser event, which I will break down soon, is to educate women on the importance of reproductive health care. So in efforts to educate women, I wanted to put together a multi-layered fundraiser proposal, which will be located at the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona. I specifically wanted to model it based on a successful model put on by the WNBA previously. The LA Sparks in 2019 put on their Pride Night, which they had called their hashtag authenticity panel before they had the game, where they were able to open conversation about with LA Pride, and hopefully engage the community on what it's like to go through your LGBTQ+ journey, and hopefully give that comfortability and just be able to just talk to people who know about that situation. So we kind of want to model that way as well. Before we have our basketball contest, we want to have an athletic panel, which hopefully we can open conversation with fans, which will go from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then we'll have our We're With Women Pro Basketball contest, which is going to be nice because it's like the fun part of it, which we want to be able to engage basketball fans. We also want to educate them as well. So in between each event that we're going to put on, we're going to invite testimony speakers from Pro-Choice Arizona to hopefully educate women in between each of our events. And not just women, but fans in general. And then last but not least, we're going to have a community outreach event, which will hopefully engage Arizona communities. And we wanted to target Arizona college students because although our target audience to get to the actual event, which is the before and during aspect, is women from the ages of 25 to 34, this is an issue for all women across the nation. So we hope that through this community outreach event, which the LA Sparks had put on with their Authenticity Prom with LA community students, we hope that this will bridge that gap, that community between the team and Arizona, and hopefully do that overall impact, which is educate women on the reproductive health care crisis. So to start off, we're going to have an athletic panel. So for our pro basketball contest, we're going to invite multiple players, kind of like the NBA All-Star weekend, where we'll invite multiple players onto our events to compete in the contest. And from those players, we're going to have 3 to 4 panelists who support our cause, because it's been seen that not only is it impactful to hear from people that support your cause, but it's even more impactful to hear from your athletic idols. And it's been seen that 7 in 10 sports fans actually support athletes that speak up on social causes. So we wanted to implement that during our panel. In addition to that, we'll have a moderator who will start the questions from Pro-Choice Arizona in order to start that conversation, get how people feel about it, and hopefully hear from how the athletes feel about what's been happening recently. 30 minutes will be questions from the moderator, and then we want to open 30 minutes up to the audience because we want to make it as one-on-one as possible, build that type of relationship, not only with what we want to do, but also with players, and making it an overall impact on what we want to do, which is reproductive health care education. So the reason why I wanted to do a pro basketball contest is we've seen that with the WNBA just recently that there's been an increase in not just viewership for the All-Star game, but it was also increase in viewership and fandom for the regular season. In 2022, the All-Star game had been the most viewed in 6 years, averaging 734,000 viewers, which was up 53% over the last year's event. So we thought this would be a perfect pinpoint as to what we want to do and hopefully get as much people there so that we could overall educate women on the reproductive health care issue. Not only is the All-Star game one of the most popular, but the viewership overall, it's up 16%, averaging for 379,000 viewers, which is the most viewed regular season in 14 years. Not only do we aim to put on the pro basketball contest, which I'll break down later, we're also trying to do a merchandise campaign, which will have a logo with the participants wearing the t-shirts during the game, and we'll also be selling them during the game and for the rest of the season as well. For the All-Star game specifically, there was a 50% increase in merchandise sales over the next best-selling event. So we thought that this would be very impactful to add this component into our basketball fundraiser. A powerful example of how the WNBA uplifted a community in need during a time was the Black Lives Matter movement, where they specifically had worn t-shirts that said "Vote Warnock," which was, Kelly Loeffler was one of the owners that had been running in a political race in which she expressed her opinion as against the Black Lives Matter movement. And so players had shown up and wore the Vote Warnock shirts, and they made over $200,000 in 3 to 4 days, and also pulled Warnock, her component, up to the front. So what we wanted to do is, we know that the Black Lives Matter movement and our movement is very different, but we wanted to have that same type of social impact, which we aim to do with our merchandise campaign. So for the actual basketball contest, we're going to have 4 very big fun events. We're going to have our own version, which we'll call Queen of the Court. We'll have a group shooting competition, a 3-point competition, and a skills challenge. And in between the events, we're going to have testimonies from Pro-Choice Arizona, from setup to breakdown, to make sure that the fans are constantly being educated on the issues to do what we over want to do is spread awareness. Specifically, we want to make 20% of ticket proceeds go to Pro-Choice Arizona for the event. And also, we're going to make 100% of merchandise sales go to Pro-Choice Arizona because for our merchandise campaign, specifically because we want to give not only a voice to women across the nation, but we also want to continue that initiative through merchandise sales as well, so Pro-Choice Arizona can continue to educate the Arizona community with their programs of educating women on the reproductive health care issue. So as you've seen, we're going to have it at Footprint Center. We're going to invite athletic participants, and we're also going to have right in the middle is our merch logo for the event for the t-shirt campaign. And I just wanted to ask the audience really, really quickly, has anyone ever slept over at anyone's house before, cousin's house before? Yeah, right. So I wanted to do something that would be relatable to us. I wanted to make a fun opportunity that we could relate to overall, because I know I personally have a lot of fun when it comes to sleepovers. And so when I was thinking about how we wanted to engage Arizona college students, I wanted it to be not only a comfy opportunity to wear pajamas, but it's also a nice opportunity. Not only will we provide food, which a lot of college students, as I know, it's hard to get groceries sometimes, so you not only want to provide food at the event, but most importantly, we want to do what slumber parties are known for, which is tell each other stories, start a conversation. And so we're going to have people from Pro-Choice Arizona be at the event, and we're going to have it located in the Ring of Honor Suite at Footprint Center so that students have the opportunity to have that conversation that they might not have, especially considering the state mandate on healthcare providers advising women to not have abortions. So basically, we want to educate, give them their options, and also create a fun, engaging way for women in general to just feel comfortable to start that conversation, hopefully be a support system for women in need. To register for our event, we're going to post it on socials, which I'll break down in our marketing sector. We're going to post a QR code that you must register for, and the cap, just based on the size of the Ring of Honor Suite, will be at 75 students. So in order to market our event, I wanted to think about our target audience and what they would engage in most. It has been identified that millennial women have been found to be early adopters, and specifically because they relate to a lot of trends that go on. And so we wanted to play into that by using those social media trends that could hopefully get them into our event and hopefully get as much awareness as to what we're trying to do and hopefully get them to our event overall. So it's been found that 81% of female millennials said that social media was the best way to reach them, so that's why we wanted to use a social media initiative. So when I was first thinking about one of those bases that a lot of people were using, Instagram has right now about 2 billion users, and so we wanted to utilize that as our one of our first marketing strategies as to how we want to get people to our event. So our target demo specifically, it makes up a third of Instagram users. So we want to cater to that audience as well. And since we want to lift up marginalized communities, we want to look at the social media platforms that they use the most. So it's been seen that 51% of Latinx women and 43% of Black women say they use that Instagram as their #1 social media vehicle. And so therefore, we thought this would be a best fit for our first component of our strategy. The second component is we wanted to utilize specifically Instagram Reels. The reason why we want to be able to do this is because there's one thing seeing a post, and there's another thing hearing from women, hearing their stories, and hopefully kind of giving a human aspect to it that we want to bring to this issue, because we want to be able to educate women and also inspire them about our issue and hopefully give that reproductive health care awareness. So in order to do that, we're going to have testimonies on our Instagram Reels, which will be from speakers from Pro-Choice Arizona who will share their ideas. In addition to that, we'll also do a dual aspect of it by adding a promotional aspect at the end, where we'll have one of our players from the Phoenix team say, join us for the We're With Women Pro Basketball contest at the end, so that not only are we able to share these stories and educate, but we're also doing a promotional aspect so that we get people at our event so we can educate these women. These posts will initially be made on the Phoenix Women's account. That's when they'll officially be posted. But now Instagram has a new feature where you could add multiple accounts to one singular post. So we'll also be adding Pro-Choice Arizona's account to ours so that we're posting simultaneously at the same time for both platforms and hopefully bridge that awareness overall. It has been seen that Instagram Reels specifically have caused a 500+% in user engagement, and it also increases followers by 2,800 plus, and so that's why we want to do these through Instagram Reels, because not only do we want to get as much engagement as we can, but we also want to build the brands of not only Pro-Choice Arizona and let people know what they're doing and their cause, but also even build the brand of our team as well so that we're mutually benefiting everyone. Another different marketing vehicle that we wanted to steer the attention to is a more creative aspect, which is the usage of podcasts. Podcasts have been very, very popular recently and has grown, especially this year. Right now, there's about 383 million podcast listeners, and it's been expected to grow by 424 million podcast listeners by 2023. So we thought that with the increase of listenership that we could hopefully hop on that platform as a marketing initiative as well. We've seen that millennials are advocate podcast users, with 71% of listeners being identified as Gen Z and millennial, and specifically 1 in 5 millennials consider themselves weekly users. In addition, we wanted to assess the female aspect of it, and about 46% of podcast listeners are female. So we wanted to, in order to educate and to promote our event, we wanted to use podcasts specifically because we thought this would help engage our audience. Podcasts are also very cost-effective ad slots, so TV ads can be very expensive, and the nice thing about podcasts is the average ad slot constitutes for about $10 to $50, which would hopefully help our cause and get as much ad slots as possible to promote our event. When we're assessing the type of podcast stations that we want to promote our event, we wanted to specifically target the Phoenix Sports Podcast. Not only do they have 10 stations dedicated to Phoenix sports, one of them being the U.S. professional women's team, but also we wanted to identify with 2 content creators. Their 2 head of content creators have expressed themselves as social activists, specifically Lindsay Smith, who had actually marched in the June march for Roe v. Wade. So we wanted to hopefully contact them. Although we want to contact everyone in the Arizona area, they specifically have stated that they support a cause like that. So we hope that maybe after that conversation that we could get them to promote our event. And lastly, a more creative, fun way that we can engage our audience, we kind of wanted to use the We're With Women challenge through TikTok. TikTok has very much increased in popularity. They have about 80 million monthly users. 26% of these users are actually from our target audience, which is 25 to 34 women. Although TikTok has been identified as a Gen Z platform, we want to also reach not only the women in this area base, but because of our college student event at the end, we also want to engage that audience as well. Not only did we want to pick a platform that engaged our target audience, but we also wanted to pick a platform that engages those marginalized communities, as 31% of Hispanics are on TikTok as well, and 30% of TikTok is also Black users as well. So for the idea for the promotion of our event, we want to do the Make Your Best half-court shot. And the reason why we want to do this is because we want to be able to make a fun opportunity for people to participate, but we also want to promote it by giving the winner free tickets to our event if they win. When you use our hashtag We're With Women challenge, we'll be able to look through the videos and hopefully pick. And to just start that ripple effect of our cause, we want to start with player influence. So we want to post our players on the Phoenix women's teams, their best half-court shot to hopefully reach their fan bases as well on the Phoenix professional women's team, but also just start the trend going. And that's the big thing about TikTok, is making sure you can get a trend going and on foot, and that way we can get as much viewership as possible. Overall, the goal, ladies and gentlemen, is we want to educate women on the reproductive health care issue, because we want to uplift and start a conversation for women that might not have that accessibility. These are not just women today, but these are the future women and the future daughters and cousins and people that you know in your everyday lives that might need this support. So we hope that through our cause activation plan, that we can uplift these women and hopefully start the ripple effect of our cause, not just in Arizona, but hopefully statewide and nationwide as well. Thank you.
Before I open up the Q&A, I just want to commend you by doing that by yourself. That was a lot. So round of applause again for Ariel, please. All right. Opening up Q&A.
Well, actually, that was just one question off the topic. Was just your presentation was by yourself versus the others. I was just curious as to why, nothing right or wrong. I was just curious.
Well, a lot of my teammates had said that they expressed that they had kind of social anxiety and that they didn't feel comfortable speaking in front, so I wanted to kind of take one for the team and do what I could. I don't ever mind taking one for the team, and they did help a lot. I mean, Liam was on the group with me, so he's up here with me today to support me. But I just wanted to help just in case, because I understand it could be nerve-wracking. I had nerves the whole time, so I just wanted to make sure that they knew that I had their backs. So that's what I did today.
Do you have any questions? First, I just want to say, commend you for your courage for taking on a social justice issue like this that has now legal implications. And I think that I think you picked the right league to partner with, and I think you picked the right state to do it in. It's a huge undertaking what you guys came up with, especially a slumber party in a suite. Just thinking as a venue operator, that's pretty. But I think that you guys did a fantastic job. Some things to think about is just kind of the people like to be anonymous, especially when there's legal implications. And so I think as you hear the chatter about how we are where we are with speaking about these types of things, I think you have to be careful about sharing stories and things like that, just because now people are afraid, right? And so now you can be arrested for this, especially healthcare workers and things like that. And so I think that there's a way to do this, and I think that you guys tackled it head on. Again, you picked the right league. It was great to see BG up there now that she's free. That's also amazing. And you know, I just wanted to commend you both and whoever else is in the room that wasn't able to come up for tackling this issue.
All right, thank you. Round of applause again.
Okay, well, thank you to all of our presenters and finalists. You all did amazing. And now I'm going to introduce our two co-presidents of the Business of Sports Club, Brian Douglas and Monty Palacios.
All right, guys, what do we think? Good, great, yeah? Can we get a round of applause again for our finalists? Awesome. You know, this is something, you know, very new for a lot of us, a lot of our students, and it's great to kind of, yeah. It's great for, you know, our students to get out of their comfort zone. I think that, you know, you grow the most when you know, are in uncomfortable situations, and we definitely did so today with our SDG initiatives. I wanted to comment on the Business of Sports Club. Can everybody raise their hand if you're a part of the club here? Club-run campus, student-run campus, student-ran club, sorry. On campus regarding sports, business of sports. And a lot of our students now, are aspiring professionals in the sports industry, like myself and Mr. Ryan Douglas here. And we do a lot of events where we, do stadium tours. We go, visit practice facilities of professional teams. And it's not only in the professional ranks, it's also, semi-pro and in local community centers as well, parks and recreations, things like that. So we do a lot of that. I actually work for Angel City FC, so if anybody's interested in going to game, hit me up after. So we are student-run club, and Ryan, do you want to add anything?
So we're going to show a little quick video here in a sec that goes over one of our venue trips to SoFi Stadium during a Rams game. But like Monty said, student-run club on campus. We really kind of prioritize career readiness and getting everyone ready for the sports industry. It's a very unique industry and very competitive. And so if you are in the club, I think everyone there can speak to that. We've had a couple members. Last year was technically like our first year, so we don't have too many alumni yet. I see one in the back, Kaylee, alumni of the Business and Sports Club. But we got everyone that kind of comes out, we hope finds their easiest entrance into the industry as well as the best fit for them. So what we kind of do is, Monty touched on it, informational interviews with people. We get them on Zoom. We try to do site visits and get people to just talk about what it's really like to work in sports. It's not always meeting the players. You're not playing. We've had some questions, and not from Kalu students, but other people at other schools, and informational interviews kind of talk about like if they could play with certain players, throw a football around. Like it's really not that. It's a grind. And we kind of got a decent look in at least what you can on a game day at the Rams on the 13th of November. So I'm just going to play this little video that our club advisor, program director, Mark Orlando, posted on his LinkedIn. And let's get it started. That'll get you pumped up. I hope all of you are ready to run through a wall right now, because I am. But we think that we're one of the better, clubs on campus. They're all great, but getting us prepared for the industry. We've done the Rams. We took a similar trip down to Anaheim to see the Angels earlier on in the year. Last year, we went, I'm blanking on it. Padres. That was where we went to San Diego for the Padres. In the spring, we actually kind of have our bigger event, probably biggest event of the year, a NorCal trip, where we're going to take a long weekend, like a 4-day weekend, and go up to the Bay Area, meet teams, not confirmed, but most likely, Bleacher Report, the Kings, the A's. I know there's a couple other in the works, and kind of just get like an extended weekend with them. And, outside of just seeing them in the workplace, being able to go out to a dinner and kind of just really have a sit-down conversation. Not only to learn, but again, this industry is about relationships. I know Monty and myself have only been in it for a little bit, but anyone in this industry will tell you it's all about relationships. And so those are kind of the values, at least, that we're trying to instill in our members. But Monty, you got anything else to add? We kind of got to wait for the judges to get back in here. So, I'm good.
What do you do for Angel City?
I do community street teams. So, Community street team at the moment. Community relations, we do a lot of outreach marketing, so promotions, whether it's like soccer clinics. We also do like a lot of random stuff like book fairs at USC, just a lot of different, a variety of different, events or avenues that I do. So I'm trying to get into, being a coordinator. Hopefully that happens. There's a job opening, so we see. But yeah, marketing, more marketing communication. Community.
All right, thank you, Monty and Ryan. I hope that gives a little insight of what we're trying to accomplish here, right? It's not just about taking classes and just learning about foundational principles. It's about actually diving hands in the clay, building an amazing learning experience and getting them professionally proficient and prepared to break that fourth wall and landing jobs right out of the gate. So again, thank you guys so much for all your efforts. So it's time for me to announce the winner of tonight's competition. And again, I applaud all the teams that presented tonight and also the other teams that didn't make it to the finals. All these projects were incredible, and it was very difficult to get to these top three. And I look forward to seeing what these projects are going to evolve to, even going into next semester and next academic calendar year. So with that being said, for the grand prize winner of this year's first inaugural SDG competition, Sean Blandino and Paris Reggio, come on down. Now, if you wouldn't mind just saying a few words just about your experience. And
I honestly just thought it was really eye-opening just to do your own research and kind of like what you're passionate about. So like, I was born and raised in LA. Like, I went to the LB Urban Youth Academy that's in Compton for baseball since I was, I think, like 12. And it's really, I felt like this project for me helped me kind of like almost give back to a community that I was like a part of when I was younger. And so I just really enjoyed that whole process of learning about the research and learning about the backing of that through sports and everything, honestly, to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I was really easy working with Sean. And it was it was a really hard project for me in the beginning, but after getting through it, it was really rewarding. So, yeah.
so I just want to say thank you to everyone who spent this evening with us tonight. Thank you again for your support and helping us build this program that is sports management. And we look forward to seeing you again on our next upcoming events. So have a great evening. Thank you to you all.